Okay, today I'm working on a common rail 2-litre TDI Audi TT. Be the same engine across the Volkswagen, Audi, Seat and Skoda range for the common rails. The issue I had was that I'd taken out the injectors, I cleaned them and tested them. When I put them back in, I purged all the air out of the system as you're supposed to do using the VCDS. So it runs the in-tank pump and it also runs the auxiliary pump here. So that the high pressure pump doesn't run without any fuel in it, because otherwise that will cause damage to it. It's only the diesel that's lubricating the high pressure pump. So once you've purged that out, it's supposed to be 3 30-second cycles to push all the air out and then deliver the fuel to the rest of the system after you've opened the fuel system. So what I had was that after cranking, the engine would run. So I thought, okay, the job's done. I started to put everything back together again, the covers and the plastic trims, etc. But then when I stopped the car, came back after a couple of days, the car wouldn't start. I went back through all my work, made sure I hadn't missed anything, electrical connections, left anything loose. And what I narrowed it down to was that there was still some air remaining in the fuel system. Now, despite there being some air bubbles, I was able to get it to run the first time, but I couldn't get it to restart. So obviously them air bubbles had propagated through the system and sat just in front of the injectors here. So because obviously there's air there, the fuel can't even push past the air when it gets to that point. So what you've got to do is get someone to help you, get a battery, get a spare battery ready as well. It's just going to take a lot of cranking. Crack off all of your fuel pipes and crank the engine. Once you start seeing fuel come out, start closing them off. As you start closing them off, you'll build the pressure up in the rail and you'll see the cars trying to start then. So you know you're getting somewhere. You might have to repeat that several times before you get it to actually start and stay running. Otherwise it'll just about run and it'll stop again. Just about run and stop again. So you know you're getting there, you just got to keep persevering. So keep cracking them off one by one after you get to that stage. And you should see fuel come out more or less straight away when you're cranking. If you don't see fuel coming out more or less straight away when you crack it off, you know you've still got a bit of air there. So carry on going. Normally number 4 is going to be the worst one. This is at the end of the fuel rail. So that's where the air is most likely to be. Most of it's going to be at number 4. And then once you do get the car running, you might find that it runs, but it's running lumpy. It'll be like bub, 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 and you'll hear it's missing. It's not quite right. At the moment you can hear it's running properly now, but when you've still got a bit of remaining air, it'll just sound like it's misfiring and blubbering a bit. So what you do then is you put the revs up to 2,500. On this car, when you put your foot flat, it'll just only sit at 2,500. But bring it up to 2,500 so your rail pressure's right up, and then individually, starting from number 4, crack it off. As you crack it off, you should see it spray. Make sure you're wearing safety goggles and you've got some towel rags soaking up the diesel that's going to leak to the back here. Just crack it open. Don't open it too far, because if you open it too far, you'll drop the rail pressure too far and then the engine will stall. So just crack it off and you'll get like a misty spray. Once you've got that mist spray, tighten it back up again and then listen to the engine. You might hear the engine now runs better. So you know maybe that was the only cylinder that still had some air bubbles in. But you can go through each cylinder, make sure you keep the revs up, otherwise it won't be as effective. And then just keep opening them, let a bit of spray come out, closing them, open them, closing them. Work your way one by one, and then you should hear the engine will sound just like this, where it's firing all cylinders, you haven't got any lumpy idle, and you know you've got all the air out. And then hopefully, when I shut this engine off in a minute and restart it, or give it 10 minutes and restart it, I should have eliminated all of the air in the system, and that'll be it. That'll be the job done. I won't have to revisit this. So yeah, I struggled with this for a little while until I got someone to come and help me, so that they could crank it, and and I could be here bleeding the system. I tried it on my own, it was too difficult. I really need to be there as they were cranking, so when I saw the fuel coming through, I could quickly close off that injector and then move on to the next one. But if you're on your own and you just open them all up and you try and crank it, more and often when you come back out here and you close them all up, you've already let a bit of air introduced to the system. So you really have to open them up, and then as you're cranking and you get the fuel through, close them off. So yeah, it's a 17mm spanner on these. I think I'll end the video there.